Welcome back to another episode of the Jesus Cartel. With me, and I have to say as usual, and not always, because you weren't on the episode last week. You decided to take a vacation.
Yeah.
So how did you feel having a week off of the Jesus Cartel?
So, vacation is a relative term. I was at work, unlike some people. But I will say this. You used 34 other people on the episode besides me last week.
It's true.
And all of them combined pale in comparison. I mean, some of them were okay.
Yeah. I could see you backtracking in your mind because you realized that your son was in that video.
He was decent. He was okay. Blake took way too long.
Yeah, that surprised me.
Yeah,
I honestly expected him
longer.
to have something pretty snappy.
David Michael I thought was spot on. It did good,
Yeah,
solid,
did well.
solid deal. There was a mute girl. I don't know why you interviewed a mute girl. There was a blonde-haired lady that really didn't like her because she didn't like you, and
She likes me now.
well, but that's irrelevant. And
You wouldn't have liked me then either.
and then there was somebody else that I was really disappointed in. But other than that, I thought they did pretty good. You know, it's not that they were bad. It was a good episode.
Yeah.
It just wasn't Clay Russell.
Yeah, I get that.
I mean,
Yeah.
it is what it is. So, and I'm excited to be back with Jesus Cartel. I'm glad I didn't lose my job to some incompetent adults and great youth people. So,
Well, let me ask you a question.
I'd love to. I will have an answer.
Yeah. If you could instantly download one piece of advice in everybody's mind, and it'd be truth for them from here on out, what would you tell them?
Amen. Trust in God with all your heart.
Not
And
that hard.
let Him guide your ways.
It's not that
It's
hard.
We can come up with a bunch of
It's
them.
not that hard.
Walk in the
Yeah,
Spirit
it's
of
really
the Lord.
hard to give a wrong answer.
There wasn't any that was wrong. In fact, I was messing with Cooper about it because, some people may have struggled a little bit or whatever, and that he wasn't. And he goes, "Yeah, I just gave the most obvious answer," and his answer was, "Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yeah.
You're going to have some difficulties. You're going to have some things, but keep pressing forward." And to him, that was the most obvious answer.
Yeah.
But I tell you what I did like about it, and because we're just making a joke about it, but I tell you what I did enjoy about it. They all had unique answers.
Yeah.
We didn't hear the same answer. It was all unique, just like usual. It wasn't cut or edited or anything like that. You used all of them, and they were all unique. They were all different. And I like the way our young people are headed. I thought that was pretty cool.
I could tell you some things that really threw me, not in a bad way, maybe a good way. I don't know how to describe it really. Beans, David Michael,
Okay.
other people call him. He's very young, very, very young. And his response was, no matter how far gone you are,
I heard that.
you can always get back. And I was like, Beans, you're like 11 or something. You know what I mean? Like, how far gone? And so, obviously, really great advice. But it does beg the question, when I ask you a very open-ended, on-the-spot question, I do genuinely wonder what led him to that conclusion, because that's a really, what I would call a pretty heavy answer.
And he wasn't the only one.
No, there was another one had a very similar.
It was a few of them. There was a couple of girls and different ones. And I was like, and so I will say this, and I mean, this is probably going to get me fired, but, I've been doing this a long time. Pastoring, leading, different things like that, come out of a great youth group and stuff. You got to be careful who your youth leaders are.
Yep.
And because I know that kid's family, and they don't suffer, and they don't go through stuff and everything. And so he's heard some speakers or some people talking about, no matter how far down you are, God's going to lift you up. Well, that really doesn't apply to him. And it's not going to apply to him, to be honest with you. He's never going to be in the ditches and all that. He knows who he is in Christ at a young age, and he's going to walk this thing out forever. But he wasn't the only one. There was another one or two that I was surprised at how, I don't want to say deep, but how different their answers were compared to the person I know.
Right.
or the person I saw.
Which challenges two ideals, and it's things that we have to be careful as listeners, not listeners of the Jesus Cartel, but listeners in general. We listen to people. And a lot of times we take everything that they say and we apply it to their experience. And so when Bean said that, your knee-jerk reaction just as a human is to say, what is he going through? What is he going through that led him to this conclusion? But the reality is there's experience and there's exposure.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the things that we see aren't because of people's experiences, because of their exposure. And so we don't always have to fix the experiences that people are going through. So we spend so much time trying to rescue people out of situations they don't need rescuing from. Really, we just need to change the things that they're exposed to.
I think that's a big deal and a valid point there, because here's where my mindset goes. Because I thought the same exact thing Saturday when I'm listening to it, and not just with him, but I can't remember the other ones.
Julia was one of them.
Okay, yep, she was, and that was surprising to me too. And so with him, with David Michael, so the first thing goes, all right, boy, you ain't experienced that. The second thing is, all right, who are you around? You know, so you start thinking about, hey, you know, is this a kid whose family come out of Fresh Start or something, you know? And then, but no, I know his family, and they're just great Christian family, just like our family is. And then, so you're like, all right, well, now who's he around? Mm-hmm. So now I'm looking at youth leaders.
Yeah.
Well, Caleb is not in that area right there, so I'm wondering, who else is speaking to this kid?
Yep.
Who's this kid around? Who is he listening to? Who is he friends with? What's going on? And so I go through this whole process all in about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
You know, now something else comes up and I get on something else. But, I mean, that was my mindset there.
Yeah.
And then the next one was what I think is one of the, you know, prettiest, most well put together, strong Christian young ladies, and her response was a little surprising. I don't remember what it was, but
it was almost the exact same thing.
Right, and it was a little surprising. Now I don't know her home situation and her family and all that kind of stuff. I know maybe it's a little different, but at the same time, I've known her for several years now, and she's very well put together.
Everybody calls her Jolly because of how happy she is.
Right.
And then to have a really heavy answer like that, again, your mind wants to immediately go to what experience are they going through right now.
Yeah. So I really liked the way you did the questions. I like asking them what their favorite thing about you is, because I like those responses. I like that.
It really did not go the way that I thought it was going to go. I was like certain that there was going to be like 90% like just random shot. And you could tell most people laughed as soon as I asked.
Yeah.
They didn't laugh because it's like, this is the type of question Andrew would ask,
right.
And so it's like, these are people who knew me really well. And it was really enjoyable to get to put that together. But I think the other thing that is just really important to point out is how you and I took in the information from that episode versus how a lot of people take in information from that episode. There are probably several people who listened and never considered the implications of any of those answers.
Yeah.
They just listened to the answer and went, oh, that was pretty good. And then they listened to the next answer and went, oh, that was pretty good. And you go on so far and so forth. But when you spend your life investing in people, counseling people, it's impossible to hear anything without your ears perking up and you trying to figure out the layers. Because every answer to everything has just layers to it. And so the longer you do this, the more you've invested in people, the more you've experienced with things going good, bad, or ugly, the more your ears perk up when people say things. And there's a lot of times where, Clay and I will be in the room with a bunch of people and we'll hear somebody make a comment and nobody will do anything, but Clay and I will look at each other like, did you hear that? I heard it. I'm just trying to make sure you heard it, And it's because we've experienced that layer before,
Well, yeah, and two things there is, when I listened to the episode, it was Saturday night after I got back from Dallas, and at that point, when it goes out on Friday, we usually have a certain amount of views. This is not a big, large amount. I haven't shared it at this point. We haven't boosted it, hadn't done anything like that, and on YouTube. But when I got on YouTube and looked at it Saturday afternoon, it had a large amount of views, and then I realized later why. And it was because so many people were involved. They probably told their families or, figured it out or whatever. And so there are a lot of people that have watched that episode, mainly just to see their kid or whatever. But when you and I watch that episode, hey, we're looking into this. And here's why. Because I'm going to be in group in just a minute, and I'm going to ask them, what'd you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah.
and I'm going to read way a lot into that, so much that they ain't never even thought about.
Yeah.
I'm going to, look into that real deeply for about an hour.
Yeah. You wanted to be an astronaut? Oh, I wonder why he wanted to get so far away from all the people that he knew. You
want to be a fireman? That's because you want to save people. Why? Because you need to be saved when you were young, and you wish a fireman would have come and saved you.
Yeah.
It was, there's a lot of different reasons, and so I'll spend an hour on why 8 people want to be certain things when they grow up. For now, so. I really did enjoy the episode. I hope other people did too. I will say this again. I think our future is bright. We got great young people that love the Lord that will be able to follow Him for the rest of their life.
Yeah, and a lot of young people, because we talked about a lot of the good things that happened at camp, and a lot of good things did happen at camp. I have talked about it since I got back. I guess we hadn't talked about it on here. A lot of people got saved. A lot of people, for the very first time, made a decision to make Jesus Lord of their life, and they're going to follow Him. That's huge. Also, a lot of saved young people made a decision to step into deeper waters with Jesus, several of which fill in a pool towards going into some version of serving in ministries, which a lot of people look at that and go, well, it's kids, that's camp, it's emotional. But that's how it happened to me. And I've been doing it that was 17 years ago. I was 17 years old. So that was half my life ago at a church camp where I heard the Lord for the first time tell me, hey, you're going to be a pastor. This is what you're going to do. And I was 17, and everybody wrote it off at the time, And then the next 2 years of my life, not good. And then 19, and ever since, I've been pastoring. And so these are not fly-by-night decisions. These are students who are really hearing from the Lord. It doesn't mean they can't reject what the Lord has instructed them to do. You can very much do that. But a lot of them won't. A lot of them will do exactly what the Lord told them to do and be exactly who He said they were going to be, that they heard for the first time this week at camp. Yep. And so I'm really pumped up.
I am too. 2 things on that end is I talked to a stepdad of a young lady, and I hadn't talked to him in a long time, and I talked to him yesterday. And his stepdaughter, who he's had a lot of difficulties with, just personality issues and stuff, she went to camp this year, and that was very surprising to me because she's not she didn't really live right here, so she's not kind of in that group. But she went to camp, and she got saved on Tuesday and gave her life to the Lord. And it's huge because I've been working with her mom and her stepdaddy for years, and her attitude has been the contention of their marriage.
Yeah.
Just being honest. Her mama sees her as her mama's the only person she's got in her corner. So she's with her 24 hours a day, Everything she does, she's with her. And then the dad's like, hey, I'm over here, I exist, and he's trying to be part of that, but at the same time it's difficult. And a lot of it has to do with the young, teenage girl's attitude towards him, and everything. And I mean, it's all open, but she got saved this week.
Yeah.
And so we're looking to build on that and work on that. The other thing I'd like to say is this: a group of boys decided last year at Cross Camp to start a Bible study that happened weekly. And a lot of times people come out of camp and they got all these ideas and then they fade away, but like you're talking about, not all of them fade away.
That's right.
And those young men were able to keep that Bible study for the entire year. And then some girls ended up jumping in, having their own. Then they would have it together. And this past week they celebrated 1 year of them doing the Bible study and stuff together.
That's incredible.
So I thought that was really cool. I'm very proud of them for that. So hey, look, encourage your kids to go to camp. Encourage them to keep moving forward and fanning that flame. And no matter if it's camp or not, whatever it is, man, when God does something amazing in your life, encourage those people and encourage yourself.
That's right. Keep pushing them forward, man. You just never know. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, you might have the next Clay Russell, not even know it.
Yep, it's very, very possible that you could be so lucky.
That's right.
The another thing I wanted to mention was, just in passing, I don't spend a lot of time on it, but we had one of the Jesus Cartel listeners actually donate to Operation Family Freedom to help free slaves, and I just want to tell that listener and several other people who listen have supported over the years. They more know me directly. This person doesn't really know me directly,
Right.
and so that's why I wanted to address this specifically and just tell them how much I appreciate and those families appreciate you, and for putting your faith in what the Lord is doing there. And I promise you on my end that every dollar that you spent will be sent to free those people. And thank you so much for your obedience to that. So,
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. She came to me and told me that she wanted to sow a seed, and so I was happy to receive it for Thrive Church. And then she told me that it was for Operation Family Freedom, and wanted to give it to Andrew, and so I was super excited about that. And
no,
so,
it's a beautiful thing.
we're able to do that. So yeah, we appreciate her and all our listeners out there.
Yeah. You said something else right before that when you were kind of wrapping up about Cross Camp that I wanted to bring awareness to. We as ministers and as friends, not just with each other, but with the other local pastors and people, I don't think people realize how much we wage war together for the kingdom. It is not an us versus anyone else mindset that happens, not in our circles at least. It's not a us versus them and our church versus their church, and let's see who's bigger and better. Like, we reach out to each other about people, about families, about things. So when you were talking about the, stepdad-daughter issue, and he came to you and he said, we've been working on this for years. It's like, dude, there's a lot of prayer and laboring that goes in together in things that people consider. I've been on several phone calls this morning with people asking me about situations, some that are connected to me, some that are not connected to me. Just trying to figure out how do we work these things out. And, a lot of times the goal is the answer is for me to get more involved. Sometimes the answer is for me to get them more involved with their pastor, and not me be involved. Be like, hey, look, this is really something you're going to need your local pastor to step into. So I would suggest you bring this to him, sit down with him. You may know me personally a little more than you know your local pastor, but this would be a good opportunity for y'all to really mesh together a little better. And I'd be happy to come sit down with the two of you and just kind of help bridge the gap in the story. And so I just wanted to make people aware of that, because we talked a couple of weeks ago about the kind of behind-the-scenes view of ministry, and that was something I don't think got mentioned, but it's not an individual effort, and the people who are in the kingdom don't see it that way. It's very much a team
Right,
battle.
man. We look. I like to play whatever role I need to play. And if that's nothing, then that's cool too, And just like this family, I've been, counseling this family for years, but I haven't talked to them in several months. And, just life gets busy, different things like that. And for me to find out that she went to Cross Camp, she didn't go with my church. She went with another church. And for her to go there and, but then, give her life to the Lord, hey, that's amazing, It makes me want to pick back up and do some more counseling now if that's where they are, just because we got another piece that we can work on right now.
That's right. That's right.
So yeah, man, we love it. I love tag teaming ministry with people. Yeah, man, we got so many good pastor friends that are just doing unbelievable.
Yeah, and it's fun to say we're better together. It's another thing to actually have that mindset where you're willing to reach out to people who may be positioned better to help than you are, and that's just the reality. Is like, but there's a lot of hero complex in people, that if you really want to be the hero of the story, you're not going to reach out to the people that you need to reach out to, because then they're the hero. Right. And it's like, kingdom people don't care about that, because they know that even if all avenues flow through me, I'm still not the hero. Jesus is still the hero at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And so if there's somebody else we could use to accomplish this, and the glory still goes to the same place at the end of it, why would I not use the guy positioned better to do it?
That's it.
And so, no, it's neat though, and we get to experience that all the time, but it doesn't get talked about a whole lot.
That's
so
right.
I thought it was good for people to hear.
Yeah, ministers work together behind the scenes more than anybody knows.
Yeah. Little get to know you segment question for the day. Okay. And I will be honest with you, the second phase class that I teach in the mornings, some of them. A lot of them have been sick lately.
Someone now that you're back at work, not the same ones I taught last week.
I worked
Okay, I was just making sure.
twice as much as you worked last week.
I just asking, is it the same group that I taught last week?
It's the same group that begrudgingly had to listen to you last week.
I did talk to them, and I said, look, man, the good news and bad news. The good news is I'm here for one more day. The bad news is Andrew will be back next week. And they said, well, they started shouting one more day. So it is what it is.
I think it was because of excitement about my return. Now, they said you talked a lot about time management.
I did.
They really enjoyed that. That was good.
Yeah, I was late the first day because I forgot about it, and then I went in and talked about time management.
That's perfect.
Yeah, so I got 30 minutes done in 12 minutes.
Yeah, I love it. The get to know you segment question in the second phase class does have a bit of a heads up on it because we talked about it a little bit. Do you have any physical weaknesses? Like, is there things we've talked about weaknesses in general? I know it's been a very long time ago, but we haven't really talked about like physical things that cause you issues. Do you have anything that just when you run up against it, it ends up getting the better of you more times than not?
So here's the thing I can come up with, because I don't have a lot of weaknesses, mentally, spiritually, physically, or anything. But I will say this: I grew up with really bad eyesight, and so my eyesight was really bad, and so I would have to get glasses and then send them to another place to get them cut down, and send them to another place, and then later on I was wearing contacts, and they got so bad I had to wear contacts and glasses. So I
didn't even know that was a thing. That's a real thing?
Yeah, it was because it was a real thing. So that way you didn't have to wear really thick glasses. I'd wear contacts and then the glasses.
Wow.
And so with that being said, when I would take my glasses off to get like a haircut or something, I would really feel like that I would get really insecure because I couldn't see.
Yeah.
And somebody could take advantage of me. They could slap me. They could hit me. They could, do something.
What do you mean when you say you can't see?
So my
you're in the barber shop. You take your glasses off.
Right.
There's a mirror right in front of you.
So most people's vision is 20/20. So that means what you can see at 20 feet.
Okay.
Okay. So mine was 1250.
Oh.
So what you can see at the length of 4 football fields is what I see at 20 feet.
Jesus.
Yeah. So what you see, from here to the other side of the wood yard is what I see from here to the deck. Right. So, which is not much.
That's not good, brother.
Yeah, it's not good. So, but I had eye surgery later, and it's great, But when I would take my glasses off, I couldn't see anything, and so I would really feel the most vulnerable that I've ever felt in my life. Also, the rest of my senses wouldn't work properly. My nose would start running or whatever.
When you took your glasses off?
Yeah, because I would get to where it's not. I've never been in a panic or panic attacks or anxiety, but I would just get in a mode to where I couldn't hear real well. For sure couldn't see real well. It just kind of diminished me as a whole a little bit, mainly because I was missing. So you see, blind people have really awakened senses because they're missing that sense. With me, it was right the opposite. If I was losing a sense, I'd lose a lot of them, And so anyhow, it was some of it's mindset, some of it, just not being able to see.
Dang.
Yep. And
I can see how that would cause a bit of panic.
It can, and I don't think it ever got to the point of panic or anything, but it did get very uncomfortable.
Oh, I'm sure.
So I would try to, get my hair cut by people I trust. Try not to be in big situations. Try to have somebody with me. And it wasn't like I feared getting a haircut or anything like that. But it, you got to remember, you're talking about somebody that has very little physical, spiritual, or mental limitations at all, and very little weaknesses at all. So it wasn't some big, huge weakness or anything like that. But for me, it was my biggest. Yeah. and that's gone.
Yeah.
So now I have none.
Now you have zero weaknesses.
That's it.
Perfect man.
Yeah.
Second best man that God ever made is right here. Obviously, first would be Christ himself. So probably, third,
I don't know
fourth,
where Cooper was going with
third,
all that.
fourth, fifth. You're somewhere in there. That's
I don't
good.
know where he was going with all that.
A lot of people didn't know that was your son either. So we got a lot of viewers that know us, but they've never seen our kids. A lot of them just met us in passing and stuff. They didn't necessarily see us with our families, and so.
And Cooper's changed a lot. He changes a lot. Yeah.
He has. A lot of people reached out to me when they saw Cooper on that video about Cooper and just talked about how much he favors you, and not in the way that he looks necessarily, but just in his demeanor and the way that he carries himself. I had an absurd amount of comments about that, and so
he has really gotten into that a lot for a while. He was, I don't know, he was kind of playing the angle of, I don't really like a lot of people type deal, and everything. And, I have one child that's, the whole, if you got more than one best friend, you don't have any, like
that's right.
somebody else.
That's
I know.
the way that it is.
Right. And then I got another child that's got hundreds of best friends like her daddy does.
But she doesn't.
And so Cooper was trying to find himself, and figure it out. And he was leaning towards the, I don't like crowds of people type mentality.
Sure.
But I really felt like that really wasn't him. And now it's showing that it's not. He is not saying he's got 100 best friends, but I am saying that his communication skills have really improved drastically. There was a young girl and her mom and that came to church Sunday because he invited them, and him and the girl are friends, and her mom was there, and he spent literally 30 minutes talking to her mom, having great conversations and everything, and so, and his girlfriend's just sitting over there watching, but he enjoys having conversations and people and stuff, so he's really developing into that.
Yep. So. Maybe near time we get him on this show.
Yeah, I don't know if he's good enough for that.
Man, only one way to know. I didn't know if my 7-year-old was.
You never know. I do know that I have a conversation with him night before last that he was able to really shine. And all we were talking about is youth and youth programs and youth directors and adults and kids and what ministry looks like and what it doesn't look like and what works and what doesn't work. And I really felt like I was talking to you instead of talking to him.
Well, what a coincidence. I happen to know a lot about the subject.
Yeah.
Could make a heck of an episode.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah. As far as weaknesses are concerned, I do have one weakness. Only one. And
I can come up with a couple.
no, you can't. It's impossible.
Because see, we've already done my episode, so you wasn't able to say it. We've done my segment.
I have no weaknesses. I changed my mind. Now I've gone from 1 to 0. So I can be successfully drugged with a teaspoon of Benadryl. I don't know what it is about it. I don't know what's in it. I don't have a clue. But I know two things are simultaneously true. I have horrid allergies, and Benadryl's the only thing that fixes them. I've tried every other medicine under the sun. Brad tried to force feed me. I think was it Allegra or something?
That's
Brad's,
a good deal. Yeah,
Brad's,
I think he sells it.
Yeah, he's got to.
Or he's got a
He's
sponsorship.
sponsor, yeah, no, for sure. And man, it didn't help. Claritin doesn't help. I mean, I've taken everything. I'm not going to go through it. I'm just telling you, I've taken everything that you're thinking of right now, and then I've taken more of it. And then I've tried all the other weird I've tried everything because my allergies are atrocious. Benadryl is the only thing that will fix them. The problem is I lose all sense of myself on Benadryl. And so I can only take it right before I go to bed because, one, it's going to knock me out. Two, before it knocks me out, I lose all control of myself. I go places, I say things, I have no recollection of them the next day whatsoever. And so I even remember, like, early on in our I don't know if we were even married yet, but it was very early on when I had a really bad allergy episode that I had to, like, sit Courtney down and tell her, like, hey, look, I'm about to take a couple of Benadryl, and I don't know what's going to happen next. and you just need to be aware of that, that this is going to be a thing. And, you know, she ended up getting a kick out of it before it was all said and done, because almost the way that it's described to me by people is I almost kind of revert to like a childlike state. I get really giggly and just silly, and I never have any memory of such. But it completely dismantles me. But I'll feel right again the next morning. And only take it when things have gotten pretty severe, where I can feel like I'm about to be in a bind for several days if I don't take something. Because if my allergies go unaddressed, it turns into a sinus infection,
Right.
which really, it doesn't stop me from doing anything. I just do them sick, but it's very annoying. And so it's that has been a thing that I've had to deal with for most of my life.
So a few things there. Number one, next time you see Brad and he's wearing a cap with a big A on it, it's not for the Angels, it's for a letter, because he's a sponsor. Number two, you know, like you said, kind of getting that childlike behavior, and when, like I said, when I took my glasses off, it was kind of like that too. I'd have different mechanisms. You know, sometimes I'd just, you know, really laugh too much, you know, or whatever, which we know is a sign for you know, having some anxiety and stuff and everything. And then other times it could be different. But the other side, it sounds like that if anybody invites you to a party and says BYOB, you're bringing your Benadryl.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah. And oddly enough, very similar, like the effects of it come on similarly to the way that alcohol
Right.
does.
That's the reason I'm saying.
I could always tell that, because there's a delay between when you take it and it actually affects, and I could always tell that it was about to happen and I needed to go get in bed because of the way that my tongue would feel. It would kind of go numb, and I'd stop being able to, I would almost get like a lisp because I can't enunciate well when that happens. And so as soon as I would be having a conversation with somebody, as soon as I could feel I can't enunciate, I'm like, hey, I gotta go to bed. You know, and if we're somewhere, someone else has to drive. Like I can't drive on it. I can't do anything on it. It's very unusual.
Yeah. So, hey, I understand. Yesterday, and I know we got a segment to do. Yesterday, Brother Dave was talking about. We're talking about some guys around here having COVID. You know, just bad form of a cold right now and stuff. And Brother Dave's like, yeah, I had that last week, but it really wasn't that bad. I just took Sudafed for a couple of days and drank some NyQuil. I'm like, well, that sounds great, Brother Dave, but these guys can't take Sudafed. Yeah. Because that's what you make methamphetamines out of, and they fail a drug test, and they can't take NyQuil because that's alcohol. You know, so I was like, you just go ahead, you're no help.
Yeah.
You know, ain't no help whatsoever. These guys can't do that.
Booze and meth mixed together.
That's right. So we're not trying to do all that, and we're not trying to bring our own Benadryl everywhere we go. So
I wonder if that's how the COVID got into here.
Yeah.
Just came up here, everything was fine. That's funny. I have wondered many times in my life, because you care about people, and the deal is like, just because I'm feeling a little bad, I can't stop the whole world because of it. And I've wondered many times in my life if I accidentally brought things to people, you know, because they may not affect me super terrible, but they may affect someone else really terrible.
Yeah, I've never missed a day. I've been working professionally now for like 25 years or whatever, and I've never missed a day of work for being sick. But I don't know how many people I've made sick because I've come to work.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's very possible. So, question for the day, and we'll do a quicker episode. We probably got like 20-ish minutes.
Yeah.
We talk a lot about, or we've mentioned a lot of times about how there is a temptation when you hear something from the Lord to really put the cart before the horse, to really get ahead of it. And so, and something that you've said for many years that was always really impactful to me. I may be paraphrasing it, but you basically say that God's plan without God's timing is not God's will. Is that pretty close?
Yeah.
And so that to me has been an extremely impactful teaching that I have held on to ever since I first heard you say it, because I think that it's wonderful. And so what do you do in a situation where you have received God's plan, but have not yet received God's timing. And so this is what we call waiting on the Lord.
Yeah.
It's not we're waiting on the Lord to do anything, because we know what the Lord is doing.
It's the timing.
But we don't know when we're supposed to do it. And that can be a very difficult and confusing space for a lot of people. I have found myself caught in that weird space many times in life and didn't exactly know how to act or react to the things that were going on. So just when you hear that question in general, what do you do while you're waiting on the Lord?
Yeah, so God actually spoke this through me last week at the Women's Center. I was ministering to a young lady at the Women's Center, and this exact thing was pressed on me, and she didn't ask the question. She was dealing with something in her life and dealing with something, and this is what God said. So the first statement, like you said, I say a lot, is that just because it's God's will, God's plan or His will outside of His timing is not God's plan, right? So God's plan outside of His timing is not His plan. Prove it to you. It is God's will for Aria to get married and have kids and all that, but it's not God's will for her to get married at 8 years old, right?
Correct.
And so right now that would not be God's plan, right? It is her plan, it is His plan, but out of His time is not His plan. But what I said last week to this young lady is the sign of a mature Christian is when God can show you things to come and you not recklessly go try to make them happen now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that is huge. And people don't like to hear that. And it's not well received. But that, it kind of goes back to something you say all the time, is it's a good thing that God is a lamp to our feet and not a light. And because if it shines too bright, sometimes we're going to run instead of taking the steps that we make when it's a lamp.
Yeah.
And so, to me, you can tell a mature Christian and an immature Christian in a lot of ways. But one of the ways that you can tell is if they know God's plan, but they know this is not the right timing for the plan right now. Mm-hmm. And so what we got to do is this. I've learned how to do this very effectively. So you know that it's God's plan, but you just don't feel right on the timing yet. Well, you don't feel right on the timing yet because the timing's not right. So you have a choice. You can either just sit there and wait, or you can say, well, if it's God's plan, I might as well push through those walls. I can overcome mountains and go ahead and make it happen on your own time. Or you can build the most solid foundation and solid plan that you can possibly build while we're waiting on the timing to happen, so that when the timing does happen, we can bust down the walls and really go all out and do what God's called us to do. And I choose to do that all of the time. I'm always planning for the future, and it's not because I don't know the future. It's because the future's not now. But when the future is now, I want to be able to hit it running, and not be behind. Something just happened in the last 24 hours that I have known was going to be the plan. And I knew that, and I knew when it was supposed to happen. Mm-hmm. The only problem is there was one missing piece, which was a big missing piece to the puzzle. But I knew what the plan was. I even knew the timing, and the timing wasn't yet. But so I was making plans, but we're still missing this big piece of the puzzle. And then all of a sudden, the piece of the puzzle is right in front of me, and it wasn't time to be revealed. Now it is time to be revealed. We put that piece of the puzzle in with the plan that we've already been developing, and now all of a sudden we're ready to be unstoppable.
Yep. In regarding that specific situation, which we won't get into detail about because I can see you're not getting into detail about it, there were a lot of other options that would have been suitable options, but would have been lesser options than what you actually have now.
Yes.
And had you acted prematurely, you would have filled that space with what we would consider a good option, but what you have now is a great option.
Amen. God's option.
Yeah, and we would have all missed it because we had actually had conversations about it before, and that never even crossed my mind. Why? How? I have no idea why that never crossed my mind. It makes all the sense in the world on the other side of it, having the revelation from God. It's like, oh, duh, of course. But that just wasn't on my mind. It wasn't on your mind at the time. But now that patience was shown and it was allowed for God to reveal it in its correct timing, well, dude, that's going to be the amount of success that it's going to bring is easily double whatever it was going to do before. And
it wasn't on my mind Saturday. It wasn't on my
Right.
mind Sunday. It wasn't on my mind until you said it on Monday, and then God started confirming it.
that's right.
You know,
And the deal with that is when it comes to being patient, when it comes to waiting on the Lord, when it comes to just allowing Him to reveal these things to you, what we realized on the back end of it was all of the other options that were good options had some potential downside. It wasn't that those downsides couldn't have been overcome, but there was potential downside. With this one, God has really opened a door that's like, this can really only go well.
Yep.
This can really only go well. And so, again, man had some great options that could have been successful.
Right.
This is a better one.
It is, and so here's the lesson. The lesson there is that, you know, we waited on God to reveal this part of the story to us. Looking back at it now, I know why it wasn't revealed before, and I know why it's being revealed now, and so that's a good thing. The other side of it is, because I knew it was God's plan, and because I knew God's timing, I was able to go ahead and make the whole plan and develop the whole thing in my mind, even though we were missing a piece. Now, a lot of people wouldn't have done that. They wait on the whole thing to get revealed, and then they work on it because in their mind, well, it may happen, it may not happen. Why am I wasting my time? Well, in my mind, hey, it was for sure going to happen. What I didn't want to do is get in the way and put the wrong person in the wrong position at the wrong time, and we didn't. But what we did do is come up with some plans and some foundation and some thoughts and some things so that when it did come together, hey, we're clicking on all cylinders. And I think that's the biggest deal is when people say, well, I'm waiting on the Lord, a lot of times they mean they don't know what to do. But we're not really talking about that. We're talking about you've heard from the Lord, you know it's God's plan, but you can just sense that the time isn't quite right yet. The time isn't right yet. And so the best thing to do is to go ahead and prepare for the future.
That's right.
For when it is ready. But you got to be mature to do this. Look, we're not talking about some Christianity 1.0 deal. We're talking about some mature believers. I mean, the level of trust that God's got to have in you, that He can show you what's to come and you go not try to screw it up because you're trying to do it too quick. God doesn't trust everybody that way. He doesn't reveal His plans that way to everybody. We see that all in the Bible. I mean, people can't handle it.
That's right.
You know, I said that about Fresh Start. If God would have told me that it was going to take $80,000-$90,000 a month to run Fresh Start, we would have never opened it up.
Yeah.
If my buddy would have never lied to me and told me it was $20,000 a month, we would have never opened it up.
Yeah.
I couldn't handle it at the time.
Yeah.
And so, but as we mature and God sees that we can handle more, He reveals more to us. But man, you can really tell a mature Christian when God's able to reveal His plans to them and them not go try to run out and do them ahead of God.
Yep. There is a, I serve leading the youth on Wednesday nights at Crockett Point, and I think that we would all agree that it's a good thing for the youth to be able to worship. I think that that's obviously a good thing. And there was a young man in our group who's very zealous about worship, and he has been wanting to lead worship on Wednesday nights with our youth for as long as I've been there, like a year and a half. He's been wanting to do it and wanting to do it and wanting to do it. But I could sense that the group wasn't ready for that step yet. And if we tried it too early, what was going to happen was it was going to be something where the Spirit isn't moving. Rather, it creates like an awkwardness in the room because nobody wants to worship. They should want to worship, but they don't want to worship yet. And that tension was going to build, and it was going to carry over into the next thing. It was going to make that young man feel unusual about trying to lead and that not turning out well. And so I told him from the very first time he mentioned it, I said, hey, that time is coming. And I believe that the Lord has laid out a timeline for this to happen. I said, but what we really need to do is get them through camp this summer. If we could get them through camp and plug them into that atmosphere where they're serving alongside other people their age in a large capacity, I think that when we come back, I think that they'll be ready to step into that. And so here's what happened. And so this young man comes on the trip with us. And on the van ride back, one of the kids asked about doing worship on Wednesday nights. And he's in the van. He gets to hear it all happen. And it was just like it all just layered just exactly the way that the Lord had revealed that it was going to. And here's the deal. Some of those kids would have worshiped before.
Yeah.
Some of them would have. But all of them wouldn't have. And I could feel that the pressure from the majority was going to hurt the spirit of the few. And so it just wasn't time. And so we found other ways to build relationships during that time rather than do worship at the time. We just really leaned into getting closer. And that way, so we didn't do nothing. Mm-hmm. We didn't do nothing. We prepared something else.
Right.
It's like, okay, if we can't do worship right now, what can we do that's beneficial in this time? And so we got close, got real close, kept getting closer.
And
now,
really prepare you for it.
And it all has come together well. And, it's...
Make
Joseph,
good use to even your downtime.
That's right. In Joseph, this was a situation where, when he interprets Pharaoh's dreams about the years of prosperity and the years of famine, well, hey, we got to build something to hold this grain, And so what do you do in the downtime? Build.
Prepare.
Yeah,
That's
build,
right.
prepare. Do what you have to do to receive the thing that you know is coming. If you know the Lord's sending you something, hey, be ready when it gets there.
Yeah.
And the will to prepare is greater than the will to win. And that's something that has been just kind of shoved in my mind through sports scenarios throughout my life, is that everybody's got the will to win. Everybody wants to win. But the will to prepare is what allows you to win. And if you're not willing to prepare, you're most likely not going to win. Because what do you do when overnight, I say it's not overnight, the Lord warned him about it. But what do you do if you know the surplus is coming, but you didn't build anything to store the grain? And now you just got all this grain. Harvest is happening. There's grain everywhere. And you're just like, all right, pile it up over there. Right. Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Not going to work out now or later.
Right.
Yeah, man. But we see it all the time. And that's the reason why I said, I don't know that we're talking to everybody. I don't think everybody's going to be able to receive what we're talking about. I think there's a lot of people that aren't listening that close for God and aren't intentionally listening for the Holy Spirit to talk to them. But for those that are, the next step is to listen to when He talks about the timing too.
That's right.
Don't just listen to the plan, listen to the timing, and then once you know the plan, whether you know the timing or not, start getting prepared. But don't jump out there until the time and it is God's timing.
Yep. There's a great argument within Scripture that you and I like to have. And I won't bring out the argument in detail. At least that's not my plan as I started this sentence. Abraham was promised a son. And from the time that he was promised a son to the birth of Isaac was a gap of 14 years. And a lot of times people don't look at that part of Scripture. They just look at, well, he was promised a son, and then he had a son. It's like, no. There was a 14-year window between here and here. And in the waiting, he made a decision of how he thought that was meant to be fulfilled. Because at that point where he had received initial instruction, it wasn't explained to him how it would come about. And so in the waiting, he decided, hey, I guess that this is going to be the only logical fulfillment of this promise. And so he goes about. Now, did God punish him for it? No. Did God hate him for it? No. But it didn't change that wasn't the son of the promise. Right. The son of the promise was always meant to be this certain son. Just because you had another son, God didn't shift the promise around and say, okay, well, I guess since this is what you decided to do, we'll let this be the promise. Right. He's not going to change his mind. And now, and I don't mean this in the negative sense as it will come across dealing with children, but now you got to deal with Ishmael. You were only supposed to have Isaac. Now you got to deal with Ishmael. Now I know a lot of people are like, oh, kids are a blessing. That's not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about God's promise and the thing that you was not going to be an obstacle that is now also an obstacle for you, because it doesn't change that this was always where God's promise was going to be. And so there are some things in your life that God has promised you. There are some things He's spoken to you, some things that He's revealed to you. You know what they are. You know that those things are supposed to be in your life. And if you will be patient and start preparing, He should have been preparing for the son of the promise rather than trying to make the promise. And if you will spend time preparing for the things that God has promised you, when that promise comes along, when the timing meets the promise, when all those things come together, then you're going to be able to live in that promise and enjoy that promise to its full effect. But if you spend all your time trying to fulfill those promises on your own, well, now you got 9 kids, but only one promise, and those 9 kids don't lose need just because the promise finally came along. And so I think that that's something that a lot of people struggle with.
We see that in young ladies all the time. When they start getting a certain age, they think that they're supposed to be getting married.
Yeah.
And they think that, and so you'll see a lot of them, pick the wrong guy or whatever. That's part of the reason why divorce rates are so high, is because they feel like that, hey, I'm supposed to get married and all my friends are getting married, so now I'm supposed to get married. And next thing you know, they're 24 and divorced with a kid and no baby's daddy, and it's difficult, and it's all because they knew God had somebody for them. They're starting to feel pressed on their time clock or whatever it is. And but really, it had nothing to do. God was wanting them to get prepared to be the best wife that they could possibly be. Yeah. Well, now, guess what? Now they're a divorced wife who's not the best wife that she could possibly be, and they're having to deal with stuff. So, man, we see, the Ishmaels can be a lot of things in your life, and so Ishmael can represent anything where you jumped the gun and decided to try to do it your way or fulfill God's blessing on your life. So anyhow, we got to be careful of those things.
I want to speak something to that, and I'm done for the day. But you brought it up, so I'm going to say something about it. This is going to be specifically to the young ladies who are listening. I want you to be aware of something. I minister to and mentor a lot of really good young men. I've been doing this for a really long time, so that number is in the thousands at this point. I can't tell you how often I have seen good young men interested in young ladies who were in relationships with horrible other men, and not only did they think that was a catastrophe of a relationship that they were in, but they wrote off that young lady and said that if that's the type of man she's interested in, not only am I not interested now, but when that relationship ends, I'm not interested later either. And so guard yourself with the type of relationships that you let yourself in, because if there is a good, worthy young man who's paying any sort of attention to you, and he sees you entertaining relationships like that, that's not the type of marriage he wants, and he earmarks that information. I've watched many young men turn away from what I thought could have been really good relationships for them, but they couldn't get beyond what it seemed like that young lady was interested in.
Yeah, and, I've seen this so many times, but Mr. Right isn't okay with you dating Mr. Wrong.
Yeah, that's correct.
He's just not. And you're just like, well, but I'm just going out. It's not a big deal. It's not like I'm going to marry him or anything. Yeah, but you're not going to marry Mr. Right either.
Yeah.
Because he's seeing you go out with Mr. Wrong. And if you're willing to, put yourself through that, then you're not the woman that he needs you to be.
Yeah.
I think I heard Stephen Furtick say that one time. He said, in order for you to have the right person in your life, you got to be the right person. Mm-hmm. You can have the right person in the world, but if you're wrong and you're not good, then that relationship's not going to be good. Well, it's the same way with God's plan. It can be God's plan. It can be God's timing. But if you're not prepared and you hadn't done your part to receive God's plan in God's timing, then you're no good either.
Yeah.
God's not going to force himself on you.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Man, we've done good today.
Yeah, I feel good. And you got anything else?
No, man, I'm good.
All right. You behave yourselves.